Welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo is distancing herself from the raging StarTimes contract controversy, insisting the Chinese company has never been a partner of her foundation. In a statement released a short while ago, the First Lady maintains StarTimes only donated kits for children participating in an exchange program facilitated by her foundation. I have more on that statement, but there are fresh revelations that a former communications minister, Dr. Omane Boamah, has cited Chinese TV operator StarTimes for making fraudulent representations. Dr. Omane Boamah, in a statement released earlier today, said StarTimes, in an attempt to hold on to the contract to build the digital terrestrial television platform, introduced some individuals as Chinese officials, which turned out to be false. There have so far been concerns by various individuals that government's grant of a tax waiver to StarTimes in execution of a satellite distribution contract will create unequal playing field for local players. Government, however, disagrees. There is more in this report.
It was clear from the onset of the discussion on Newsfile that the unending disagreement between government, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association and other individuals on what role StarTimes will be playing won't end soon.
Excuse me, I don't want to confuse issues here. Who is giving sweetheart deals to Chinese companies?
You are.
You did.
You are.
You did.
Signing a $95 million deal that we do.
For the Media Foundation for West Africa, government may well end up favoring a Chinese company. Suleiman Abraima is executive director.
In terms of the issues that have been raised by Geba, first of all, I would be interested in hearing from the minister why, for example, that tax waiver was extended to the Chinese entity.
What tax waiver?
Well, unless that is not true, that StarTimes, the project that they are coming to execute in terms of the 300 villages project.
Listen to him, madam.
There has been a tax waiver, and as we all hear this morning, to the tune of about $3 million.
Former Communications Minister Dr. Omane Boamah wrote on Facebook, quote, Mr. President, instead of offering tax waivers to StarTimes China, your government should extend the exemption of Geba from the payment of DTT fees as granted under the Mahama administration, end quote. It appears this may not happen as the current minister fought off such a suggestion from the Media Foundation for West Africa.
That was a news desk report. Now, the former communications minister, Dr. Omane Boamah, wants government to make public all agreement is signed with StarTimes. Here are extras from the statement.
I assumed office as Minister for Communications and worked actively and tirelessly with stakeholders with the hope of achieving 17th June 2015 deadline. In the spirit of South-South cooperation, best efforts were exerted. Cautions to StarTimes, the Chinese ambassador to Ghana and every relevant stakeholder about how lethargic the process of securing financing was delaying the project. In response, several assurances were given. Shamefully, they included a fake working visit to the Ministry of Communications by a team of Chinese officials who were fraudulently introduced by the representative of StarTimes China as being on a mission to conduct further due diligence on the DTT project. This was revealed as untrue during my meeting with the then chairman and president of the China Exim Bank in Beijing in June 2014. Chinese government is supporting StarTimes to penetrate the African market. What is the government of Ghana doing to promote Ghanaians in broadcasting? I contend that instead of adopting high-handedness as a tool to whip groups and individuals who do not support the StarTimes deal, government should consider doing the following. Immediately ensure mutually beneficial agreements with all stakeholders in order to recalibrate the pathways for the DTT process. Publish any agreements entered into with StarTimes on the 300 villages project, and if none exist, take urgent steps to ensure appropriate regulatory oversight without providing undue advantage to StarTimes, which is already an actor in Ghanaian broadcasting. Extend the Mahama government exemption of broadcasters from paying fees while they use the DTT platform for 2 more years. Offer tax waivers on equipment to broadcasters as they have done for StarTimes, as and when the need arises.
That was an extract of the statement signed by former Communications Minister Dr. Omane Boamah. Officials of StarTimes have turned down our request to comment on the matter. But here is Communications Minister Esla Owusu-Ekufo shooting down accusations that her ministry is giving, quote, sweetheart deals to the Chinese media firm StarTimes. Responding to an allusion by a member of parliament for Ningo Pram Pram on Newsfile last Saturday, the minister said the previous government also engaged a Chinese firm that did a shoddy work on the current building that is housing her ministry.
So if you sit here and you say the ministry is giving sweetheart deals to Chinese companies, I have news for you. Ministry of Communications building, yes, that was built by a Chinese company. And the company was paid 70% mobilization upfront. And its subcontractors bolted with the money. The building that we live in, which we have occupied for less than 2 years, is falling apart. And you are comfortable making allusions to that?
That's maybe
You're
this is why you should not be handing our DTT platform to a Chinese company.
Excuse me. I don't want to confuse issues here. Who is giving sweetheart deals to Chinese companies?
You are.
You did.
You are.
You did.
Signing a $95 million deal that we do.
Did I hear you say, when you announced that you have news for Geba, did I hear you say that the regime that we understood was to encourage these businesses for them to stay afloat, where they were to be hosted for free for a period?
They have been.
Okay. That you're going to review that and that now they will have to pay.
They are all aware that they will have to pay at some stage.
Okay.
That platform has to be self-sustaining. It's not a charity.
Okay.
But Madam, you say you circulated a draft policy. The stakeholders have not received any draft policy.
Sorry.
We're coming to a meeting and we don't even have a copy of the policy document we are coming to discuss in 10 days' time.
Okay, thank you. There's a question that's being asked that the NCA, which is under your ministry, has been advertising to sell 3 lots of their 4G spectrum to raise money for the DTT project. Why do you need an Exim Bank, loan, facility to be able to undertake the process?
Unfortunately, KNET is still owed on the execution of the first phase of this project. We were supposed, the current arrangement is costing this government about over $100 million. We're only able to sell 1 block of spectrum for $67 million. That money is exhausted. In addition to paying KNET, we also had to pay legal fees out of that same money. We had to pay an independent engineer, which the previous government also contracted out of the same money. So the 67 million has been unable.
We can now take a look at portions of the statement from the office of the First Lady, and I'm going to read for you a few of the paragraphs here. It says the attention of the office of the First Lady has been drawn to a publication in the media concerning her charity, the Rebecca Foundation, and a Chinese firm operating in Ghana, StarTimes Corporation. This is to offer clarification on the matter. StarTimes has never been at any time a partner of the foundation, as has been suggested. The foundation is, however, very grateful to StarTimes for offering football kits to be donated through the foundation to the SOS Children's Village, where the First Lady is honored to be a patron. And it goes on to provide a couple of facts that says that in 2017, the First Lady went to China, signed a memorandum of understanding between the Rebecca Foundation and the Lishang District Experimental School in Qingdao to establish an exchange program between Ghana and Chinese school children. It goes on to say that under the MOU, Ghanaian pupils were to learn martial arts, ping pong and other disciplines, while Chinese pupils will benefit from football training with their Ghanaian counterparts. The final paragraph says that the Rebecca Foundation is committed. Right, let me just move a little above that paragraph. It says the support was publicly announced and it is purely for charitable purposes. It is worth emphasizing that neither the First Lady nor the foundation has any role to play in any engagement between StarTimes and the government of Ghana, either directly or indirectly. The Rebecca Foundation is committed to improving the welfare and well-being of women and children, especially the vulnerable in society, and works with various partners who distribute in diverse ways, to contribute in diverse ways to our vision and mission. We're forever grateful for the continuous support the charity is receiving from its well-wishers both in Ghana and abroad. We wish to assure the general public that the Rebecca Foundation will continue to be guided by the strict principles of honesty, integrity, and transparency. So that's the statement that came this afternoon from the First Lady's office, the Rebecca Foundation. Now let's head to Parliament, where we understand that the House has been recalled for an emergency sitting, and they're going to be approving several financial agreements. They'll also be approving 4 Supreme Court judges as well as some minister designates, which became necessary after President Akufo-Addo reshuffled his team. Let's go over to Parliament now. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is standing by for us. Hello, Joseph. Joseph?
Good afternoon to you.
Well, before you go ahead, we understand that the communications minister, the minority, was saying they were going to drag the communications minister before the House. Tell us a bit more. And so they insist that there are a lot of issues relating to the contract with StarTimes that need clarity. And so we gather that the leadership of the minority has actually directed their members on the committee, that's the communications committee, to go ahead and get the minister to possibly appear before the committee to come respond to questions. We got the hint that that meeting was expected to come off today between the communications committee and the minister, but we gather it didn't come on eventually. But the minority has indicated that even if at the level of the committee they are unable to get answers, then the question will be put so that then she appears before the plenary to come respond to questions on the issues. Because they, for example, don't understand how come this deal never went through Parliament for approval in the first place, and how come there was very limited engagement between the committee and the minister on the deal before it was signed. Now, Joseph, tell us about what the emergency sitting is expected to achieve briefly, by the way. We know that they're going to approve some Supreme Court judges as well as minister designates. What more? So a number of other things. Government has, for example, put before the House a number of loan agreements that tally to something more than $200 billion that they're taking approval for. They are undertaking some initiatives with the World Bank for money to undertake an agri initiative. They also sourcing for funds in order to undertake the funding of agri mechanization stuff, the tune of more than 90 billion, and a number of initiatives. And so about 6 different loan agreements were laid in Parliament earlier today for approval before the House rises. And as well, there's a conversation ongoing around the Mineral Investment Fund bill, which is something that approval was given for in the previous budget. And they would need Parliament to pass a bill before then it can be operationalized. So that is also being looked at before they rise on site. Joseph, thank you very much for that update. We'll get more in pictures in our subsequent bulletins when Joseph comes back to file that report. But President Akufo-Addo has admitted that the Ghanaian economy is going through a difficult patch, but has dismissed concerns of a crisis. Speaking to the Ghanaian community in New York, the president acknowledged the difficulty, what he terms the insignificant and rapid depreciation of the cedi is having on ordinary Ghanaians. He says inadequate measures are being, adequate measures, I must say, are being put in place to ease the burden on Ghanaians. Well, let's go on the line now and speak to Evans Mensa, who is at in New York, who's attending the UN General Assembly. Evans, if you can hear me, how did the Ghanaian community there respond? How did they receive this explanation given by President Akufo-Addo?
Well, it's clear that the Ghanaian community here in New York, to be very specific, have been keenly following what has been happening back home. A lot of them have families back home they have to send remittances to. And clearly, Ghana's economy is going through a difficult patch. There'll be more demands on them to send increased remittances back home. And that is why the president chose to respond to this. The president, and if you listen to the president, he admits that there's a problem. And the Ghanaian community's take on that is, well, it's okay to be honest about it. It's okay to admit and to be sincere that there is a problem. But they look forward to real solutions that the president touched on to fixing the challenges that he identified in that address to the community.
So what are these measures that the president speaks about? Was he specific about them?
Well, the president talks about one that he acknowledged the role that the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, is playing in pumping money into the system, in other words, dollars into the system. Because one of the key things that has happened, and as the president himself explained, is the increase in crude oil prices having a knock-on effect, and also combined with the strengthening of the US dollar, is having a combined effect on our local currency, which, as he described, has seen a significant and rapid recession. So one, the central bank is pumping dollars into the Ghanaian economy to try and see if it shores up the strength of the city. Secondly, he talks about, I think for him, the most important solution to this is a long-term one, which is changing the fundamentals of the Ghanaian economy, because as an economy, we import almost everything that we consume. If you do that, you will need more dollars to import, which will put pressure on the city. So for long-term purposes, the president is looking at changing the fundamentals, making the Ghanaian economy one that exports more, relies less on the US dollar, and then hopes that then has a knock-on effect on improving the cedi against the dollar. But then that's a long-term thing. For most of the people who were there, they wanted to see something more short-term, which the president says will happen with the central bank's initiatives.
We'll see how that goes. But Evans, briefly before you go, tell us about the president's engagement at the UN headquarters today. We understand that Ghana is looking to have a place on the UN Security Council.
Well, that hasn't come up yet, not in any of the discussions that I've been in. Mainly is about looking forward to the president's address to the General Assembly on Wednesday. He's been speaking today at the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit and talks about how Ghana is committed to the global effort for world peace.
Evans, thank you so much, and I hope that the meetings are going well so far. Evans Mensa is editor here at JoyNews.